I'm Wesley Hunt.
I'm Wrendon Hunt.
And you're in the hunt. So not only are you in the hunt today, you're catching me on a really good fiery day.
That's good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because I just did a hit this morning on Fox Business. And
Well, I got to stop you there.
And here's where this
you
is.
said, I just did a hit this morning. I'm like, you can't say that.
Also, it's a hit. Well, it's what the industry calls, when you go on a news show, they call it a hit.
Oh, industry talk.
You know,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It's on a
You just
political
did
street,
hit,
whatever. Whatever.
vis-a-vis.
So I did a hit this morning on Fox Business because we talked about this before, and it's just something that I really think just is nauseating to me.
Ooh, this should be
when
good.
people start comparing stuff to slavery. Okay, and we start comparing people's actions today to Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King Jr. and the Middle Passage and 400 years of slavery and Harriet Tubman. That really chaps me, okay? So yesterday, Kamala Harris is comparing what the Democrats did here in Texas at the State House. What happened was we were supposed to vote on some new voter laws, which we will talk about here in a second. And instead of voting, instead of having the debate, instead of probably losing the debate, they picked up their toys, got on a private plane, and flew to D.C. so that there couldn't be a quorum to vote on the bill. And Kamala Harris described them and described this act tantamount to Frederick Douglass and Selma.
That's not a good comparison.
That's not a good comparison at all.
In my mind, I think about Frederick Douglass, who I've read all of his autobiographies
Yes.
because they're fascinating.
And he is fascinating.
And he's a fascinating individual.
Very complex. Very complex.
Yes. I would encourage everybody to read his works. I imagine Frederick Douglass, when he was a slave,
Yes.
when he was forced to toil the land for others and not reap the benefits.
Yeah.
I'm sure that if he were around today, he wouldn't compare his situation to a group of 51 people who decided to get on a private plane to fly away from doing their job. Conveniently. Not exactly the same thing.
No.
And we're not only talking about voting rights. It's not the only legislation we're talking about.
Oh, here we go.
We're talking about other things too. We're talking about relief for people for property taxes.
Yeah, retirement, pension fund stuff.
I pay a lot in property taxes.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I can afford to pay a lot in property taxes.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't.
Yeah.
We're talking about funding for adoption agencies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might be interesting to some people to realize when you're talking about a special session, you're not only just talking about one issue.
One thing.
There's many votes that happen over the course of this.
But Wrendon,
so these freedom patriot Frederick Douglass people who got on a plane and left and are not exercising really the voters' will, this is a democracy, right?
Yes.
If you don't like the laws that are passed, vote these people out.
Vote with, and you could. What our Constitution was created for you to vote with your feet.
Yeah.
You don't like it, you can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's why we have individual states' rights.
Yeah.
You go live in a state that's more palatable to how you want to lead. That's fine.
You've got many choices.
You have choices.
This is like a Subway.
Yeah, right?
Right?
Eat fresh.
Nobody comes in and says, hey, man, you have to get the meatball sub.
Yeah, you have to get
That's all we serve. I've never been to a Subway where all they serve is meatball sub.
No.
There's always that turkey that's been sitting there for 5 weeks.
5 weeks. 10 weeks. 5 weeks.
5 weeks, 10 weeks. By the way, I refuse to eat of
Subway.
Mostly yes, but in particular at Subway, the breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about this. I haven't eaten Subway since I was in the Army, and I didn't have a choice.
This has been a while. It's probably been 12 or 13 years because I remember Waddell and I went into a Subway, and we're getting a breakfast sandwich. And when they took that spongy egg out of the water with the gloves and shook off the water on it.
Yeah.
And then put it on a little paper thing and put it in the microwave.
Yeah, I'm good, dog.
That was the last time I ate a Subway breakfast sandwich.
That's gonna be a no for me.
It's gonna be a no for me, dog. It's gonna be a no for me. But back to our friends, the freedom fighting Patriots. 51.
Yeah. So
it's like that alliteration.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
So the other thing that bothers me is this: the voting laws that we're trying to pass in Texas. Here's the crux of it.
You're about to say something rational. I hate it when you do this.
We're going to require an ID. We're going to restrict the times in when you can vote so we could know who comes and votes and we can monitor it properly. And unless you are disabled in some capacity, you actually have to get out of your vehicle, walk into the building, and go vote. And we're restricting mail-in ballots to those people that are retired and over the age of 65, and also other people that don't have the physical means to get up and vote.
But Wesley, we've had mail-in ballots ever since the beginning of this country.
Wow.
When the USPS was riding on ponies. No, we haven't.
Wrendon, so when I hear that this is somehow restrictive to people of color, let me be blunt. It's white liberals lying to you. Period.
Yeah.
It's white liberals lying to you. Because if you are a person and you want to figure out how to vote, you have 2 weeks to figure out how to vote, because in our state we have early voting. Unlike Delaware, where Joe Biden was actually the senator for that state, they don't have early voting.
Sure.
We have 2 weeks of early voting. And if you can't figure out how to early vote between these times of the day in person, there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the system. And by the way, I have yet to talk to somebody that had a problem voting, period, in the last 10 years in Texas. Point them out to me. I'd love to meet them.
I have a question for you. Is it important to have times when people can vote?
Wrendon,
it's just a question. Don't shoot the messenger.
Wrendon, this is beyond, this is crazy. So I'm gonna give you an example. If your favorite restaurant is what? What's your favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant? Gosh, I like Good Company Seafood.
Good Company Seafood.
Yeah.
I'm a Carrabba's on Kirby kind of guy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
If you know that Carrabba's or Good Company Seafood closes at 9, then you figure out a way to get your food before 9 o'clock.
Well, but see, there's a difference there. If I go into Good Company Seafood and I know it closes at 9, and I get there at 9:05 and they don't let me in, it's because they're racist. It's the only logical. That's the only logical answer to that. Next thing you know, they're going to be walk up to me with a fried chicken and watermelon at a.
I'm sure he wanted the chicken because he's black.
Give me a break, man.
Stop this.
Give me a break.
Stop this.
Give me a break.
And black people have got to stop falling for this. And you know what's really funny, Wrendon? You know what's really funny? When I talk to black people, they actually don't even believe this. They're like, "Yeah, I voted. I've never had an issue voting. Yeah, I have ID." If you talk to people that want to go vote, this is not a problem.
Well, we're making something a race issue. We are pulling a race issue out of thin air.
Yeah.
Because there's one piece of all of this legislation that I think is really important to highlight, because there are people who are disabled who have a harder time voting. And we need to address that very specifically. We are addressing that very specifically.
We always have been.
But we are literally pulling race bait out of thin air and making it seem like, because guess what? This is what's easy to do when we separate pieces of humanity, so we make it seem like us versus them. This is how we bifurcate people and tear people apart. Because somehow, because you're black, it has to be harder for you in some way. Certain things, like voting, look, if there's a time in which you can vote, it doesn't make it harder or less harder for you to go to a polling location because you're black or white. That's a ridiculous thing to think.
It's ridiculous.
Like that concept is
actually
is
insulting
ridiculous.
and racist to insinuate that black people or people of color can't do that.
Or mail-in voting or voting in your car. Explain to me how it would be easier for a black person to drive up in a car and vote than it would be for a white person to drive up in a car and vote.
So
Explain it to me. Or explain to me why,
It's so ridiculous.
why the mail system in a black community is so much better than the mail system in a white community, so mail-in ballots somehow are going to affect black people in a different way than it's going to affect white people. And I go back to even the times of voting and even the way we think about early voting more broadly. There's a reason why we have an election day. We have an election day because there are a lot of things that can happen that lead up to election day that might or might not change the person who you were going to be voting for. There's a reason why there is a campaign season. It's a time to get comfortable with and understand candidates. And the idea, you talk about people lying to the American people. People are lying to you when they tell you that quote unquote Republicans want to limit any access to democracy
not true.
or any access to voting, because that's a lie.
That's not true.
Because you can ask me very directly, yes, I want people to vote, I want their votes to be counted, and I want there to be fair elections.
everybody's
That's what I want.
Period.
And you know what? Sometimes you lose in those fair elections. And if you lose in those fair elections, you shouldn't get on a private plane and fly away so that you can't vote on behalf of the people that you represent.
Whoa. Whew. Well, I thought I was fired up, man.
I just had an espresso, man.
And Wrendon, not only that, the Freedom 51, the Freedom Fighting 51. That's pretty good. pretty good. They get on a plane. So I just came from Nashville.
Yeah.
Do you know what I had to do? I had to wear a mask on the flight. Do you know why? Someone who's had COVID and has been vaccinated, do you know why I have to wear a mask?
Because you're black.
It was good. Get this guy another espresso. Do you know why? It's because of and unfortunately this has seriously become a political thing. But it's because of Democrats, basically that are forcing us to still wear masks even when we've been vaccinated, and that's fine. That's fine. If we want to protect other people, look on a flight, I will do it. If I want to go from A to B, I'll put my mask on. That's fine. That's fine. They're on a private plane with no mask on.
Ooh.
Taking a picture smiling as if they're doing the right thing. Wrendon, this is like an armed robber, okay, going into a convenience store, sticking up the cashier and smiling in the camera.
So
you're not doing a good thing. And this, you shouldn't be proud of this. This is not good.
And this is another thing that bothered me about this whole scenario, right? Because you're right. It was an Instagram, Facebook.
It was cavalier.
Curated.
It was a stunt.
Curated moment, right?
Yes.
Because let me tell you something. I've seen a lot of photos from Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anybody smiling.
Whoa, wait, nobody smile on that bridge.
On any of those photos.
Wow.
That was not a stunt. That was exercising liberty.
Yeah. This is not exercising liberty.
This is a stunt.
Don't kid yourself.
This is a stunt.
Don't kid yourself.
This is a stunt.
Wrendon, maybe it's the military stuff in us. I don't know. But if a law comes out that says you can only vote from this time to this time, you have to have an ID, you have 2 weeks to do it. Do you know what I say? Do I want to vote? Okay.
Let's make it happen.
Let's go vote. If that's the minimum that I have to do to go make sure that my vote counts, why are we having this conversation? Why are we having this conversation?
Could be worse. You could be in Cuba.
Whoa.
But before I diverge into our Cuban
It's been a busy week.
compatriots. It's been an extremely busy week.
Yeah.
I did want to touch on something that's perhaps a little bit nuanced, because I like to give people props and call things out when they do positive things, even when it's somebody that I don't expect.
Okay, who?
Al Sharpton.
Oh yeah. Let's get
Al Sharpton.
And this might be the only time in my life that I will ever. This might be the only time in my life I've ever said I've actually agreed with something that he's done or said. But go ahead. Yeah, this is
Except for when he lost that weight, man, because he looks so much better now than he looked before.
Go ahead, continue. Please.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Keenan can barely play him on Saturday Night Live. I'm like, man, you gotta lose about 15, 20 pounds to play.
I don't know. Man.
To play River now. Hunter Britton.
Yeah.
Young man, teenager who was killed. He's unarmed in Arkansas. He was killed by a cop. And Al Sharpton spoke at his funeral. And Al Sharpton made a comment, and I've listened to the whole eulogy, and he made a couple of comments about this is something that we need to fight from the standpoint of police brutality and making sure that we're cleaning up that system more broadly. And that means if you're wearing a Biden button or a Trump button, continue to march and continue to fight for what you believe. And in this very rare moment, we saw an old school civil rights leader that didn't directly just play the race card and actually made a speech that was meant to bring people together. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I was so glad he did it, and it makes me so much more disappointed in all the times that we've squandered.
Yeah, but did it get any play though? Did it get any press? Who's talking about this?
Not as much as it should have.
Of course not. And the other thing that I do like about it is that this is how we should be attacking everything in this country. There are more unarmed white males killed by cops than unarmed black men.
It's a numbers game.
Period.
Because there's more white people in this country.
Because there's more white people in this country.
Yeah.
This is
we're 13 to 14% of the country. I mean, like,
this is a numbers game.
Yeah.
So if you really want to fight police brutality, you fight police brutality and the rare incidences that it happens.
Yeah, but you fight it, period.
You fight it, period, no matter what anybody looks like.
And you don't grab a microphone when a black kid is shot and then cower in the corner when a white kid is shot.
And then crickets for everybody else.
These are children. Like, that moment to me, it was almost as if, wow, he finally gets what Dr. King was trying to say.
Yep.
Because let me tell you what, if Martin Luther King Jr. was alive, there's a lot of eulogies he would have given at white funerals too.
Of course he would have. That's the whole point of this.
Because he was the content of your character guy, man.
That's it. Not the color of your skin.
Yeah. It's not specially curating, well, this means more because of this and this means, that's not equality.
You know, my Uber driver from the hotel to the airport in Nashville is from Algeria.
Awesome.
He speaks 4 languages. His name is Mohammed.
3 more than me.
I know, right? Right. 4 more than me. I barely speak English.
I speak Texas and
and he's from Algeria. You want to talk about a breath of fresh air in this country?
Yeah.
You know what he said when I was getting out, getting our bags and leaving? He goes, "These people don't realize how good they have it in this country." He said, I always find it funny. I laugh at people that talk about race in this country. He said, I spent a lot of my life in France and I grew up in Algeria. You people have no idea what racism is. He goes, America is not that old. America is a very young country.
Yeah.
He goes, racism has been around from way before this country started. We are just human beings. I mean, racism was always there. Slavery was always there.
Wesley, racism didn't start till the critical race theory.
Theory happened. That's when it started.
That's when it started.
God, I knew I was missing something here. Here's a person who's not from this country, just looking at us and saying, "You've lost your mind." He's happy to be here, Wrendon. He tells me his whole story about his family and his kids and when he moved here and why he moved here and worked at the Ritz-Carlton in New York and then moved out to California, met his wife, and he has his kids here. Talked about hard work, talked about this country, talked about the opportunities that he has right now. I said, hey, do you like Nashville? You want to know what he says?
It ain't Houston.
I'm a happy person. It doesn't matter where I am.
Wow.
He said, yeah, it's a nice city. It's a good city. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not. He said, but you could put me in any city here in the United States. I'm happy. I'm a happy guy to be anywhere here.
Wow.
It takes that sometimes to put things in perspective, doesn't it?
It sure does. And if you wonder about being in this country, there are 3 examples I would point you to today. South Africa,
Yeah.
Cuba,
Yep.
and Haiti.
Yep. Look no further. Look no further. We can go on, by the way. But I mean,
Two of those are very close.
Those are
to
the
us
ones
as well.
that popped up in the news just this past week for crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But I really want to get on Cuba.
Yeah. Havana, unana.
Cuba. I don't mean Cuba Gooding Jr. I don't know why I want to say that. Cuba Gooding Jr. is so funny. Cuba Gooding Jr.
I like Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah. Show me the money.
I love black people.
I love black people. I love black people.
I am Mr. Black People.
Show me the way.
I can hear Joe Biden saying that. I
see-
love black people. I'm Mr. Black People.
I can see Joe Biden say a lot.
I can
of
see
things.
Hunter saying that. You wouldn't say black people, though. Too soon?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Hennessy Hunter? No. No. We were talking about people that are in the midst of doing their best to overthrow a communist regime.
Unbelievable.
They've been shackled by communism for decades now, and now they're sick of it and they're fed up with it. Some of it has to do with COVID. I will say that.
Yes.
That's certainly preempted what now we're seeing with what we're seeing today. But these people don't want communism anymore. We just saw this in Venezuela. Now we're seeing it in Cuba. We have a current administration, Wrendon, that will not even say the word communism. They won't even say it.
Yeah.
They won't dispel it. They won't even overtly say the people of Cuba are sick of communism and we should help them and help them embrace capitalism and freedom. Won't say it. And they won't say it. This is not a Republican or a Democrat thing.
It's an American thing.
This is an American thing. We fight we don't like we don't do communism in this country.
Yeah.
We don't actively support communist regimes.
Well, herein lies a lot of the issues and debates that were happening with the normalization of the relationship with Cuba. Because if you go back, first of all, there's an identity issue here. The first president that you think of when you say Cuba, who do you think of? JFK.
John F. Kennedy, Democrat. My guess is
Very, 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 very pro-capitalism, pro-democracy.
his whole family was.
Very. And so at some point there's been a change over time where
It's not a good change.
No, it's not.
It's
Where
not a
we were
good
comfortable with confronting that, and quite frankly, we all agreed that you don't support communist regimes.
Yes.
So then we decide in the Obama administration, and by the we, I mean the collective we administration. We're Americans. When decisions are made, we are Americans.
We're in the boat.
We're in it together, right?
Yeah.
So the decision is made that we are going to open up an opportunity for a communist regime to thrive economically, essentially. We're gonna embargoes gone. We're going to open things up so that there's more money flowing through, so that the people that have control of the money, that are handing this money to the people, fairly or unfairly, are not even in a government style that we agree with. And then fast forward with the Trump administration saying, wait a minute, we got to back down from that, which was okay at first because that communist regime still had that Venezuelan money.
Yep.
But then what happened? What happens when the oil prices go down and you're Venezuela? and you can't afford anymore to support Cuba, then you have a problem.
Cuba implodes. Big problem.
And where,
especially in Venezuela, when the oil and gas company is government run.
Ooh. And where are we on this?
Crickets.
Where do we find ourselves on this?
I'm going to talk like Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And whisper into the microphone.
Why are you whispering?
Why? That was the weirdest thing.
It's pretty weird. Yeah. It wasn't as weird as corn pop. Right?
Why are we supporting communists?
Yeah. It's the strangest thing.
Because I wrote the bill. Dude,
Like,
just like,
whoa.
well, I don't know what's
This has gotten really
going
creepy.
on. I don't know what's
This has gotten creepy. There was a line. You just
You
crossed
just-
it.
you crossed it.
But I just like how do we, like, I don't understand where we stand right now, right? And perhaps that's when you
That's
talk
the
about
problem,
foreign
Wrendon.
policy.
You don't understand where we stand against communism. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is a problem.
You don't understand. This is not hard to understand. The answer is no. We don't support communist regimes. Period. If people in a country want liberty for themselves and they want to fight for it, that's who we support. Yeah. What are your questions, Wrendon?
Yeah.
Is there? I'm sorry. Did I mince words with that? Why can't we just say that?
Yeah.
Why can't we say that?
Yeah. You know what I do think is interesting too in this whole process? There are actions, there are consequences, there are unintended consequences in everything that we do. And the thing that I find very provocative about what's going on right now in the news with Cuba is opening up our relations to Cuba actually in many ways was a bit of a spark.
Yeah.
Because then they had the influence of people from all around the globe, most specifically Americans.
Yeah,
and a lot of very wealthy Americans.
Cuban cigars.
And a lot of very wealthy Americans. And all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my goodness, these people are coming here with these tales of liberty, of freedom."
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to see that spark and how this sequence of things has happened.
Oh yeah. You can see it coming a mile away.
Yeah, but it still baffles me if we go back. It still baffles me that the idea in terms of our relationship with a regime that is authoritarian, that is suppressing their people, would be one in which, well, if we're nice enough to them, I'm sure things will just get better.
What kind of doctrine is that, Wrendon?
It's the Iran doctrine too.
Yes.
Right? Like if we're nice enough to them and we're good to them,
then they'll just do it.
It's cool. I mean, maybe that should be the name of the doctrine. It's cool. Well, bro, so what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about Libya, man?
It's cool.
It's
cool. It's cool.
It's cool.
Look, we'll be nice to them.
Details.
They'll be nice back.
It's cool.
You'll see. Works every time.
Nah, that's not how it works. We have to have a strategy. Which brings me to Stephen A. Smith.
He clearly had no strategy.
Speaking of Stephen A. Smith. So recently, Stephen A. Smith is under heavy fire right now.
As he should be.
For talking about a pitcher for the Angels, Ohtani, who is pitcher / leading the league in home runs.
Thank you.
/
better. That's a better description.
/ perhaps the most talented baseball player I've ever seen.
/ first real two-way player we've seen since Babe Ruth.
Yeah. Stephen A., and part of this is the narrative that people have themselves. Stephen A. is clearly more of a football and basketball fan than he is a baseball fan.
Yeah.
So whenever conversations go up in terms of opportunities to say that baseball is dying in many ways, he's the first one that's on that bandwagon, right? He made some comments about the face of baseball being Ohtani, who is from Japan and does not speak English well, has an interpreter who travels with him, And Stephen A. Smith basically said that you can't have a face of a sport that doesn't even speak the language of the people who watch that sport.
In 2020, he said that in 2021.
So
it's crazy.
Stephen A.
That's crazy. What are you
speaks
doing?
for hours at a
I
time
know.
on TV for a living. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, he's been dead wrong about Ohtani the whole time, calling him overrated and stuff like that.
Not overrated.
First of all, he's been dead wrong about him. But that reminds me, and let me make a crude comparison that I don't think is that far off. That would be like if some white people saw Eldrick Tiger Woods and said, well, he can't be the face of golf because he's not the same color as everybody who plays golf.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very similar comparison, Wrendon. It's a very similar comparison.
So you mean to tell me, Stephen A., that nobody who is different
can't
in any way can represent something
based on their play on the field? This is predicated upon this guy right now is the best player in baseball. He is. Usually it's Mike Trout. Mike Trout's injured. This guy is probably right now the best player in baseball. Can we talk about why you would want to have the best player in baseball be if he is an upstanding citizen? Because I know there's some other stuff that you want to make sure that you have. You don't want certain players that we could name to be the face of your league, given some probably past transgressions. But if you have an upstanding person who happens to be the best player in the league, and he's different, that's a plus. You have just literally expanded your reach.
But Wesley,
like Tiger did for golf, by the way.
How is it? And this is there's a point behind the point here that a black man who has been a trailblazer in that industry, and he's been a trailblazer because he's been different. He's been provocative. How can somebody that's been a trailblazer because he's been provocative
criticize somebody for being a
trailblazer who's different and provocative?
But see, also, you
gotta be kidding me, man.
I'm not sure Ohtani is even a trailblazer. What about Nomo? What about Hideo Nomo? I mean, what about Suzuki Ichiro?
Yeah, they couldn't throw 97-mile-an-hour fastballs though.
The fact. That, sir. I mean, that, sir, is a fact. But in terms of a
at least
foreign,
yeah.
That's
he's a step up to that.
He's definitely different.
Yeah,
so it's not like we haven't seen this before, though. It's no capacity.
Yeah, he's the box jump on that one.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
But it's not like we haven't had Japanese players come here and crush it.
Yeah.
And so like that comment is off color. Let's get the color. If he were white, he lost his job.
Or he'd have been canceled.
If you were white, if you made the same comment, he would no longer have a show.
Yeah.
See, this is what we like to bring into these conversations. Okay, like, are we going to be a fair America or not? Now, quite frankly, Wrendon, I don't think he should lose a show.
No.
But you want to know what else? And if he were white and made that comment, if he apologized, I don't think he should lose his show either.
Wesley,
the problem is this.
Because I think we should cancel canceling.
I don't want to cancel anybody.
Yeah.
But if we're going to live in cancel culture, then it should apply to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
The side that wants to cancel people, you don't get to cancel people. Only white people. ...
You have to. There's a checklist for things that you have to meet in order to get canceled.
Yeah.
And that
first.
And that's what's happening here.
Yes. That's the problem.
That's what's happening here.
Like where is the standard here?
Yeah.
And I'm just like I said, I don't want to cancel anybody.
No.
You have to say something really egregious for me to be like, for you to be to the point of no return.
Yeah.
You got to say something really bad to me.
Yeah. And here's the thing. There's a difference between personal canceling and societal canceling.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who say stupid stuff that I don't listen to anymore.
Yeah, because that's my choice.
Because I don't like it, and it's my choice.
I'm not going to listen to that
But there's a
anymore.
difference between that and saying, because of this, nobody should be permitted to listen to this person's voice at all, period.
That's not right.
That's just, that's
not America.
That's not free speech.
That's not America.
Yeah.
And I feel like, the way around this is that people have the opportunity to endorse something or vote with their pocketbooks. You don't have to cancel somebody.
Yeah.
If the people don't want to prescribe to that particular brand of person, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch it anymore. That's all. And then when their ratings go down, and then they lose advertising revenue, that's how you got rid of them. But you didn't get rid of them because there is a societal, Leviathan that says, "Oh, that's it, you're done. You said that, you're done." No, the people decide.
Yeah. You know what else is kind of silly about
people
this?
Decide is Shady as bad as they say he is.
Yeah, there we go. There you go. You know what else I was thinking about? Stephen A's a basketball guy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've read any of the articles or heard the stories about Stephon Marbury in China.
Starberry?
Yeah, he is like Jordan in China.
Oh, he's crazy.
Okay, he is.
Yeah, Starberry?
He is the man.
He's the guy, yeah.
Do you think he speaks Mandarin? I'm just asking for a friend. Because he can't possibly be.
I'm gonna go out.
He's definitely not a native speaker.
I'm gonna go out on a limb.
He can't possibly be the face.
I'm not sure
of the Peking Ducks.
Yeah.
Because his Mandarin it's not his first language, so he can't possibly be the face.
He has the English interpreter.
Yeah, he can't possibly be the face. Give me a break, man.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah. So now Stephen A is on his apology tour. As he should be.
It's going to be a long apology tour, too.
As he should be.
It's going to be a long apology tour. And it should be, right. I had to make sure that we touched on the drug overdose deaths that are happening in this country. And I remembered there was something, I had to bust out the book, because I remember there was something that we definitely had to talk about that was shocking for me. So, in the United States, in 2020, they just released the data. Deaths from drug overdoses are up 30%. 30%.
Do you know why?
Part of it is COVID.
Uh-huh.
Part of it is cracking down.
Yeah.
There's reasons here.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this from the standpoint of, I believe the number is 93,331 people in 2020 died of drug overdoses.
So the other reason why, Wrendon, that we're seeing this
We need to be talking about this.
jump in drug overdoses is because of our open borders that we have currently right now. And over the course of this past year, we've had enough fentanyl pour into our borders to kill every American 4 times. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
So when it's that readily accessible, because we have absolutely no checks and balances right now at our border, this is the consequences that we pay as a country. And so for whatever reason now, we all want to paint the border issue. Again, now we're racist. Again.
Yeah.
Now you're racist. If you want to have border security and if you want to build a wall and use other types of technologies to monitor the border and know what's coming in and out of our country, so you're a racist. And see, what people do is when you jump on that narrative, you start ignoring the reality of this kind of stuff. We have a drug problem in this country. We have a cartel problem in this country. We have a human trafficking problem in this country. This is not racist. This is an issue of national security.
Yeah.
I get it. Maybe you don't like the narrative. We're going to build a big, beautiful wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. Maybe you don't like that. Okay. But that doesn't mean that there is some truth to making sure that we know what's coming in and out of our country.
Absolutely.
Wrendon, like this is where we get lost as a country, because what you just said is terrifyingly horrible.
And this is why we need to have more conversations like this, because, and I push, I have a good group of friends whom I push, and they also push me on my views on things. And it's a very direct question in terms of the border. You know, should we be monitoring who comes in and out of this country? You were talking about your Uber driver from Algeria.
Yes.
Should we be bringing in the best and brightest
Absolutely.
of all parts of the world to come in and be a part of the American melting pot?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is it okay from the 90s that previously, if you got on a boat 90 miles offshore of Miami in Cuba and you touch down, you pretty much are guaranteed that you get a green card and you can kind of stay no matter what the background or anything like that is? It's a new day.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Tony Montana. We saw what he did. What?
That did happen?
Tony Montana. That's not. Was
yeah, because what happened was, and you might not know this, but Tony Montana's best friend married Maid Marian before she was married to Robin of Locksley.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
I don't know if you know that.
That's crazy, dude. Used to burn her hair as a child. Robin of Locksley.
Robin of Locksley.
Used to burn my hair as a child. Yeah.
Asim. There will be a group of people who are listening to this who have no clue what we're talking about.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Go watch it.
It's amazing.
It's a legend.
Amazing. It's Kevin Costner starts off with an accent. Midway through, it's gone. It
doesn't need to be there.
It's better with it. He's better without it. He doesn't need the accent.
Morgan Freeman is incredible.
It's amazing.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
it's a great movie. But when you think about really some of these issues and things that are happening in our country, it's so important that we highlight this. These are the same things that we talk about with mental health as well. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Drug overdose, like over 90,000 people died in a year.
Yeah.
That's horrible, man.
It's horrible. It's horrible. It's bad.
And how do we do better? How do we do better to fix it?
We're not going to stop all of it. I recognize that. That's impossible. Okay. But we have to do better than this.
Yeah.
We just did better than this.
Yeah.
We were just doing better than this.
Yeah.
I don't want people to get lost in these crazy, outlandish narratives to where you just completely ignore the facts. It's like I don't want people to get lost into believing that the Fantastic 51, the Freedom Fantastic 51,
Freedom Fighting Fantastic 51.
The Freedom Fighting Fantastic 51, they board a private plane. It's like Selma.
Yeah, it's not.
And Frederick Douglass. You see, when you start falling for those narratives, you stop talking about, we just want some voter integrity.
Yeah.
That's it. Everybody wants that.
Yeah.
79% of Americans think black people, white people, Hispanic people, yeah, I mean, you should have an ID to vote. Okay.
That whole concept to me, and this is another conversation for another day.
This is crazy.
The whole concept to me, I don't even understand the concept absent of everybody getting a retinal scan.
Wrendon, beyond
like
me.
Mission Impossible.
Beyond me.
Absent of that, how could you not need an ID to vote?
It's beyond me. This conversation is beyond me.
Like, is voting not more important than boarding a plane?
We have facial recognition technology just to open the iPhone.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, facial recognition technology to open up your iPhone. Come on.
But to vote?
Come on, guys.
I just like, and once again, when I have conversations with my friends and we bounce this stuff off each other.
Within a time frame? Like open and close time frame? So we could know who is voting and when? In person? Lost. And somehow that's racist.
Yeah.
So, but if you start believing the Frederick Douglass Salmon narrative, you see, you don't get the facts. You don't get the facts. The Georgia and Texas voting laws are suppressive. What? Now, I'm not going to lie. When I first started hearing about some of this stuff, I was like, let's let this cake bake. Like let's see what we're actually trying to pass here and how it's going to impact people. Remember we had that conversation?
Yeah.
And then I read the legislation, and I was like, wait, that's it?
But you actually read the legislation.
Of course.
And therein lies... If you were to Google right now, and the reason I know this is because I did it.
Yeah.
If you were to Google right now, Texas legislature Democrats, all you read about and hear about is voter laws, and then they're coming to vote on the voter laws. And it's like, well, what are the voter laws? Like, what do they say? What's in them?
You're not going to find it.
That is very difficult to find.
You're not going to find it.
But that's the problem. Remember that Michael Keaton movie, Multiplicity?
Of course.
It's a great movie. I love Michael Keaton.
Of course. Yeah.
But that Michael Keaton movie, Multiplicity.
Was it Hey Steve.
Basically, the concept of this movie, not too different from the concept of Idiocracy as well.
Yeah.
But the concept of Multiplicity is
another good one.
When you clone something, you get a clone of the clone of the clone of the clone of the clone. Right?
Yes.
And as you get further down that, each one is a copy of the one before,
tuck,
so the
fold.
copy is not as pure.
Tuck, fold.
Yeah. So the copy is not as pure.
Yes.
This is the media industry right now.
Yeah.
If you want to read about a voting bill, please, I implore you, go read the bill before you listen to anybody, me included, talking about it.
Yeah.
Because you need to understand the information and get it for yourself before you hear all these derivations of it. Yeah. Make an opinion. Form an opinion.
It's not racist laws.
No.
It's really not. It's just housekeeping and monitoring and making sure that's really all it is.
And I can tell you,
it's not that serious. In fact, it's not going to change. It's not going to change my family's voting habits at all.
So I learned all I needed to know about why this whole situation needs to get tightened up when you ran for office.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll end on this one. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll close on this. Yeah. Go ahead.
Because
you were there.
I remember
you were there,
sitting in a room as we're calling the precincts, and nobody could tell us how many people had voted.
Wasn't that crazy?
Who they were voting for. All of the votes would just come in what they called batches. So 7,000 more votes have just kind of come in, and 4,000 votes have come in here. And let me be very clear as I say this.
How many people voted?
I'm not talking about voter fraud or an election stolen. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the process by which we exercise democracy. And I witness to this day, if I go to your election and I say, well, how many people voted in the election? Nobody would be able to tell me.
Yeah. Can't give you a number.
I was sitting there with your campaign manager at 3:00 in the morning, trying to figure out if other precincts and districts were going to report numbers or not.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know.
And it wasn't officially done. Like, it wasn't officially actually counted until a month and a half, 2 months later.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
That would be like walking into a restaurant and talking to the owner and saying, hey, man, how many people came into your restaurant today? We got the tickets. You can count them up if you want. This is how many people came. This is how many people paid my bill. This is where there was a party of 3, a party of 4. How in the world,
counting,
with the technology that we have, do we still to this day have no clue how many people voted in a number of different congressional senatorial races? And here's the thing that gets it even crazier.
It was sad.
And this is why this is not a Republican or Democratic thing. Democrats have won under this system, and Republicans have won under this system.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it any less broken, and doesn't mean that we don't need to fix it and understand who's voting and when.
That's it. Perfect. Do you know who has this right? Florida. Now, Florida had to fix this because of what happened in 2000.
Yeah.
When the polls closed, 1 hour later, they knew how many absentee ballots were sent out. They knew how many people voted. They knew how many mail-in ballots there were. They knew it all. They knew it all. And when they counted them, that was it. You went to bed at night, Florida was done. Why can't we have that everywhere? That's literally all we're trying to do.
And look, if we
In
don't,
2021, when the clock strikes midnight, we know who won and lost.
and if we don't shore that, and with the technology we have, vice the technology we had 50 years ago,
You gotta be kidding me.
if we don't shore this up,
Yeah.
because you want to talk about a matter of even national security in some ways, if we don't shore this up, there's going to be even broader questions about the integrity of our elections, and that's dangerous.
That's very dangerous.
So we need to shore this up.
That's all.
We need to shore this up.
That's all we're trying to do. There's nothing racist about that.
Yeah.
But the media would have you believe that this is Selma, that this is Frederick Douglass, that this is Jim Crow, that this is the Middle Passage, that this is the Civil Rights Movement. Not even close. Try again. You and I are too educated. We know better than that.
Yeah.
The whole point of this talk is to make sure that people actually know what we're talking about and you know what you're talking about instead of just following narratives without actually reading the damn bill.
Here's the thing: question it.
That's
Question everything.
Yes.
Question it.
And shame on Kamala Harris, too, by the way. Shame on her.
Yeah.
Because she's too smart for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do not lighten and besmirch the sacrifice of those that gave their lives on that bridge and the amazing man that was Frederick Douglass for this bill.
Yeah.
That's a lie. That's not true.
Yeah.
Take us out.
And remember, smiles are contagious, so make someone's day.
God bless you. Thank
God
you.
bless you.